everyone. Hello everyone. In this video, this is a contract video. This is Indian contract video 4. So in this video, we'll continue from where we had left in our video 3. We had in the last video we had basically covered some basic concepts regarding what is agreement, what is contract, what is consideration, communication, proposal, all the important terms we had covered. So this is continuation video. In this continuation video, what we are going to do is we're going to take a topic of competency of the parties. Competency of the parties is very important topic to understand the contracts, because competency of the parties is one of the essentials which make an agreement a contract. So let's start with the Bare Act first. Always keep a Bare Act whenever you're studying contracts. So what we have studied, what agreements are contracts? When these essentials are fulfilled, like free consent is essential, competency of the parties is another essential, and lawful consideration and lawful object. In this video, we'll be covering competency of the party specifically. So every person who is competent to contract is under section 11. Every person is competent to contract who is of the age of majority according to the law to which he is subject, who is of sound mind and is not disqualified from contracting by any law to which he is subject. So any person who is a person, so what is requirement for competency is majority. Majority is a requirement. And it's not specifically saying we all what we always assume as being majority is key that person is 18 plus, but it is not always the case. There are two kinds of majorities. One is 18 plus, another is 21 plus. So in usual case, if a person is of 18 and above, that person is considered to be the age of majority. But what happens when a minor is under court appointed guardian? Hope you can see what I'm writing over here. This is not white, but what I've written is when a minor is under the court appointed guardian, the age of majority becomes 21. Okay, so you need to keep it in mind. That's why this Bare Act language says according to law which he is subject. So always try to understand, like whenever you're doing any kind of law, always see why it's not written. Why explicitly it's not writing 18? Because in the general parlance, in the common parlance, what we say that if a person is 18 or plus, that person is of age of majority. So that you need to keep in mind. Okay, so uh, that's done. Like now you know about the age of majority. Okay, another is who is competent to contract. The person is of sound mind. This is another category. So there are three categories in which we have divided who can contract. The person should be of sound mind. Sound mind means must be able to understand the terms and take a rational judgment. Why this requirement? Sound mind requirement, because what the basic premise on which the contracts are formed, that there will be a free consent, and this consent can only be free when the person is able to understand the terms of the contract. When the person is able to understand the terms of the contracts, take the rational decision, then only it can be said that the person is of sound mind. This is one of the essential. Another essentials is we'll cover sound mind again in more detail. But let's come to the major topic, which is usually asked in almost all the exams. In almost all the law exams, we're always asked about the legal age. This is the majority age governed by the Majority Act, and another act which I've already told you about is Guardian and Wards Act, which also talks about the majority age of 21 or above. And another essential requirement is not disqualified. What you need to understand, this is not very important topic. You just need to just know the overview of what is not disqualified. Not disqualified means there are certain individuals. What kind of individuals? Individuals like the ones who are imprisoned. Wait, okay, let's make some space and let's do it. Okay, so there are individuals who are imprisoned. The ones who are imprisoned means sentenced. These people are barred from making the contract by law. Another kind of are the people who like these are the category of convicts. Another kind of category are the ones who are insolvents. Why? What is insolvency? Insolvency is a person who is not able to pay off his debts, and it is presumed under law that if the person is not able to make pay the debts, this means this person will not be able to provide the consideration also, and consideration is one of the essentials of making a valid contract. This is how like all topics are related. And these few people like solvents, imprisoned ones, sentenced, delinquents, these are also barred, these are disqualified from making a contract. Let's come to our today's important, this is the thing which I was talking about, minority and the contract. So what is the general rule? General rule about minors is that agreements with minors are void ab initio. I'm stressing on this topic because in almost all exams this topic is prominently asked, and also this is a bit difficult to understand it in a proper way, that why the minors contracts are void ab initio. If the minor comes into contract, what would be the status of the contract? What you need to understand, what is the general rule. There are specific rules when it comes to the minors, and there are certain exceptions also. So we'll delve that in all these topics into this class. So what is the status? Status is void ab initio. We'll come to that in the next videos. In the upcoming videos I'll also take those topics about what is void contract, what is voidable, okay, and what is void ab initio. Void ab initio means does not have the legal, no legal validity. Okay, so the agreements which are void ab initio means we'll not call them contracts, because contracts are always formed when it is valid. But this we'll call it agreements, any agreement with the minor, because there cannot be any contract. If there is any agreement is made, then it is void ab initio itself. It will not have any legal validity, legal sanctity in the eyes of the laws. Why? Because law presumes that the minors does not have the proper understanding, no proper understanding, and they are not able to make they cannot take a rational judgment. And it is also presumed in the eyes of the law. There are certain presumptions which work in the law, like in whatever law you study there are always presumptions, and it is always presumed that that minor's mind is fragile, and adults can try to exploit them or might be able to take benefits out of them. And it is the law's duty to protect the weaker segments of the society. That's why the law presumes that if you're making making any arrangements, any agreement with a minor, it is your duty, it's a duty of the adult who is making the contract to conduct its due diligence to before making any contract with a person. They need to ascertain that this person is not the age of minority. This is an important thing which you need to be able to understand. And one of the most landmark judgment in this topic is the Mohiru Bibi versus Dharmodosh Ghosh. In this case, minor's mortgage was declared void. We'll see what happened in this case. to understand this concept even better. And there are certain exceptions to this rule of minority. Why there are certain exceptions? Because law also recognizes that it's not like practically possible for minors and for any adult to firstly ascertain that this is not minor, and also to like there are certain supplies, certain goods like the goods of necessity, and minors equally need them as majors. You always know, like the necessities of life, like food, shelter, education. These are certain requirements which everyone wants. And these necessities, even minors can enter into the contract, and the contracts which are made for necessities will be held valid in the eyes of the laws. And the supplies and necessity supplies, if these are provided to the minor, this can be claimed back from the property. There is also one, we'll take it in few more minutes, that even though these necessities are supplied, still the minor will not be held personally liable for like for the payment. Minor's property will be held liable. The payment will be claimed from the minor's property. I'll take this topic in a while. Let's first discuss the landmark case which I'm talking about. Mohiri Bibi was a Dharmadosh Ghosh. Okay, so in this case, what the court had to decide, court had to deal with the question that whether agreements made by minors are valid or void. Okay, so this is the, and what are the key facts of this case? How his case proceeded? Dharmodosh Ghosh, he was a minor. He was a minor, aged 18 years. He was under 18 years. Okay, and he mortgaged his property to secure a loan of rupees 20,000 from a money lender named Brahmo Dutt. So let's see. This is Dharmodosh. I'm representing by D. Dharmodosh, he entered in the contract with B. B is Brahmo Dutt. He's a money lender, and he mortgaged his property. Mortgaged property and secured a loan of 20,000 rupees. The transaction was managed by Brahmo Dutt's agent, who knew Ghosh was a minor at the time of arrangement. In this case, what happened that this this Brahmo Dutt's agent had handled this transaction, and he already knew that Ghosh is a minor, that there was a knowledge in this, that knowledge about minority. This is done. There was a knowledge about minority also, and later Ghosh and his mother uh, arguing that the mortgage was invalid because he was a minor. Ghosh and his mother basically sued the Brahmo Dutt and argued that this mortgage arrangement, what is mortgage and everything, you'll study when you'll study the property law, but let's like not go into what is mortgage. It's, you just understand it, mortgage is a kind of contract. So it was held that this is not even a contract because this mortgage is invalid because he is a minor, and minor cannot enter into the contract, and any agreement by the minor is void ab initio. This happened. So what the court had to decide, issues before the court was the contract, mortgage deed, void or voidable under the Indian Contract Act? Was Ghosh required to return the money he received under the deed? What was held by the court in this case? If you understand the what should be the answer of first question? Any, the mortgage deed was undertaken, should it be void or voidable? We obviously know the clear answer, it will be void, because any contract, any arrangement which the minor cannot enter into a contract. But if I'm calling it like any arrangement or any agreement, if the minor is entering into any arrangement, that arrangement will be a void one, because it is presumed that that minor cannot make a contract. And was Ghosh required to return the money he received? That was another question. The court's decision was to take the recourse to the section 11 of the Indian contract. A contract with a minor is void ab initio. It is invalid from the very beginning. It was held that it is invalid from the very beginning itself. The court made it clear that no valid contract exists if one of the parties is minor. And what was held that minor are protected from contractual liability. Even if a minor misrepresent their age, they can still plead minority as a defense. Minority can always be pleaded as a defense, even if the minor misrepresents their age. There is this question arise that there was no like this was a misrepresentation by the minor, misrepresentation by minor. We can understand in such cases definitely the total liabilities of the minor, because he is misrepresenting his age. This happened in this case. Even though he is misrepresenting his age, then also he will be then also he cannot be held valid, and because contract is, sorry, I'll not call it contract, because agreement is void. And any kind of, even if it's any kind of contract, cannot happen with the minor. If one of the parties is minor, it cannot happen. In this case, what was in the Mohiri case, what we saw that the other party already knew about the or other party already knew about minority of the party. Even if that person knew about the minority, this fact can also not be given consideration, even though other party know or don't know. This does not matter. This is not a determiner. What is the So just a simple thing, what you just need to understand is, you don't know need to go into such technicalities. One thing is clear: if even if that person minor is misrepresenting his age, even though he is lying, he's misrepresenting, he's doing some fraud, any kind of arrangement, but if in an arrangement there is a minor, that a whole arrangement will be held void ab initio, because the law's purpose is to protect the minor. I hope you understood. So this case is very simple. Okay, so in this case also, there are two more things, which was, there is a law of estoppel. What is law of estoppel? Law of estoppel is that if you are supporting some fact, you can't later deny it. Can't later deny it. This is you will understand it in later when you study other laws. There are laws of estoppels, which are usually principles applied in contracts, that if you are supporting some fact, you can't later deny those facts. But in this case, it was held that law of estoppel, which prevents someone from denying facts they have previously established, does not apply to minors. This does not apply to minors, even though in this case Ghosh, this Dharmodosh Ghosh, he misrepresented his age, misrepresented this fact itself about his age. Still, the law of estoppel will not be applied, and this minor cannot be held liable. Okay, a minor is always allowed to claim minority status to avoid liability. Even though at a later stages also he can come out and tell that I'm a minor, and this whole arrangement is void. Still, he will not be held liable. And another is, so if you see, like, it's a funny thing, but you just need to see that whatever minor do in the law, minor will always be given immunity. Just need to understand whatever minor is doing, there is a immunity which is always, they are always immune from any sort of liability. Minor, funny thing is, minor is no liability. Like, it comes to judges, like, no, there is no liability. Okay, so you just need to like note these pointers. But ultimately what's going to happen, if you see, another pointer is ratification. Ratification is a concept, I think you must have heard about in the news, like this treaty is ratified and all. In this same way, contracts are also ratified. Ratification happens when ratification is when the minor gets to the age of majority. So a contract entered into with a minor cannot be ratified, made valid even after they attain majority. If suppose this suppose Ghosh in this case is of age 15, and this does not mean that this money lender can tell that I'm waiting for 3 years. 3 years you get to majority and then fulfill this whole mortgage contract. This does not work. Even after majority, this majority, if even if he turns majority at the age of 18, he cannot ratify the ratification of the contract which are made at the time of minority, cannot be made. This ratification will be held invalid. Okay, so it's also very easy, you know what is now, no ratification apply, no law of estoppel applies. What about okay, let's see. If in this case, what is another important effect of minors agreement is, so suppose if in this case this money lender sues this minor under tort. You know what is tort? You must have studied it in the tort. This is like a civil remedy. That civil remedy because he has misrepresented his age, and this has caused harm to. This has caused harm to, like, this is like injury, legal injury to the money lender. But is it possible for money lender to like make him liable under tort? In this also, it is no in the sense no liability in contracts or in tort, out of contract. It does not mean that minors cannot be held liable in tort. What you need to understand here is, like, some people sometimes face difficulty in understanding this, that they think that minor cannot be made liable under tort also. This is not true. Minor can be made liable under tort. Under tort, it can be made liable. But what the court has held, that if this tort is arising out of a contract, because of this contract, this money lender is claiming damages. This damages cannot be asked for. This damages cannot be claimed because this is arising out of contract, and this contract in itself is void ab initio. Easy. I think it's now easy for you to like understand it. I've written all these interesting exceptions to the rule of incapacity. These are very interesting essentials. I've already discussed the contract of necessities, which is section 68 ICA. When we'll come to section 68, we'll take it more deeply. But for the preliminary understanding, for the sake of understanding incapacity, let's take this interesting exception. It's like if the minor or the unsound person of unsound mind, it's supplied with necessities suited to their condition in life, the supplier is entitled to reimbursement or restoration, you can talk. And there is one more term which is used in contract, that is restitution from the minor's property, not the personal liability. One more good principle and very interesting thing which you need to know, what is The meaning of personal liability versus property liability. Personal liability is what? Personal liability is that the person will be personally liable, even though that person does not possess the property, the sufficient property. That person does not possess the sufficient property. Still, that person will be held liable personally. Okay. So, if the person is personally liable, this means criminal actions can also be taken against that person. When you'll study law in more deeply, you'll understand these concepts when you'll do civil procedure. But, like, again, for the sake of understanding contracts, because okay, so you understand what person, and then there is a property liability. Property liability is whatever that person's property is, that payment or any debt obligation will be fulfilled from that property obligation. So you must be thinking, that what is a minor's property? What is minor's property? Minor's property, what will be minor's property? Minor's property can be like if a gift that minor has received from anyone, if that person minor has received some gift, if there is some inheritable property, any sort of property which the minor possesses. You must be thinking that we don't have any property, but like a lot of minors do have these property. Like if a minor is born in some Hindu undivided family, Hindu joint family, these people have the right from the time of their birth in the property share. So this payment, this obligation will be taken from there. Also, what you need to know is this property, this does not mean the property which will be later acquired, not later acquired. This should be the property which the minor should have at the time of the claim. At the time of the claim, like this person, if Dharmadosh Ghosh, in this case, if you see, in this case, if this person Ghosh, he does not have any property at the time when he is 15, because liability was created at the time of 15. If he got these property at the age of 16, that property he received at the age of 16 cannot be used for payment of these obligation. Okay, so minors are always like, they're always at the good end. Like law gives them all the protections they required, like food, shelter can be recovered from their estate. But if the minor is never liable, but the minor is never liable personally. Not no liability is made, is like they're not made personally liable for anything. And the same logic applies. Presumption of innocence, not able to understand terms, protection, immunity, these are the terms. Then these are beneficial contracts or services. There are certain like if you see, like many people receive scholarships, apprenticeship. Okay, these are solely for the benefits of the minors. Such contracts are enforceable. If it is for the, why the law gives, why now for the benefit? This is allowed because in such contracts there should not be any obligations. No obligation and only benefits. If any contract fulfills these essentials, that it is providing benefits to the minor, and later the minor will benefit from any such arrangement. But such kind of contract should not create any obligation. If this contract, like in a scholarship a contract or something, any obligation is getting created, the minor will be held liable. Any if that minor is not able to fulfill certain conditionalities, terms and conditions, the minor will be held liable. Then such contracts cannot be considered to be the contract for beneficial service. Okay, you need to know this. Now another is, we have already taken this, estoppel does not apply. Estoppel is in codified under section 115 of Indian Evidence Act. When you study Indian Evidence Act, you will read it. If the minor misrepresent his age, he can still plead minority as a defense, even if that person misrepresent his age at the time of making the contract. But at the later stages, he comes out and tells that he's a minor and this whole arrangement is void. This contract is void ab initio. the other party cannot take action against him. This estoppel does not apply. The contract remains void. No estoppel can prevent this. So Mohiri Bivi versus Ghosh, minus mortgage was held void even with misrepresentation. Even if he had done the misrepresentation, it was a fault on the minor's part, but still that minor will not be held liable. Restitution of unjust enrichment. Restitution of unjust enrichment is enrichment. Such contracts are quasi contracts. We'll take these also in the next classes. What are quasi contracts? But still, till now, what you need to understand, when the contract is void, the court can sometimes order restitution if the minor unjustly benefits, but only to the extent to the benefits still retained. So example for this is, let's take example I'm writing over here. I'm so sorry, I'm not able to open this. Okay, let's take here it is only like if a minor misrepresent his age, and this is like shopkeeper and misrepresent his age and buys a laptop, okay, and does not pay the price, and says that I'll pay, buys a buys a laptop and says that he'll pay the price later. And okay, so this laptop he has kept in his home, and if later it is this mine this because this contract in itself invalid, and let's suppose his mom gets to know that, oh, he had bought a laptop without even payment of the price, so there is no contract. So this is contract is void ab initio. But can the shopkeeper ask them to return the laptop? Because he has taken unjust benefit, unjust enrichment has happened. He's taking laptop, he can sue them for the laptop, he can claim back his laptop. This is a restitution. Because why? Because minors still have the possession of the laptop. Just imagine, like, this minor and this shopkeeper, like, let's see, this minor is like very notorious, and he takes a laptop, he sells the laptops for 60,000 rupees. He sells the laptop for 60,000 rupees, and with the 60,000 rupees, he has his 60,000 rupees, okay? And later, what happens is he spends 20,000 rupees, he still have 40,000 rupees. He had already spent the 20,000 rupees. Since this whole arrangement is void ab initio, but because now the laptop is already sold and now minor has already spent 20,000, shopkeeper can only claim 40,000. This is the principle of restitution. Restore back what is left. Minor can only be held liable to pay 40,000, not 60,000, because again, this is for the protection of the minors. Okay, it's considered minors are innocent and probably have done mistakes or something. That's why it's always but there is also this principle in a lot of cases. It is held that principle of restitution, this principle of restitution for unjust enrichment, because these minors are getting unjustly enriched, these benefits have to be returned back. But this isn't the same as enforcing a contract, because in this case we're not enforcing the contract, otherwise it would have been for 60,000. This is to prevent unfair enrichment, not to punish minors. Punishment for the minors under the contract is never done, okay? There is always protection given to the minors under the contracts. Guardians can enter the contract on behalf of minors, but only if contract is clearly for the minor's benefit. Another one is contract that guardians can always enter into the contract for minors, but this contract which the minors are for the minors they are entering into, it should always be for their benefit, and the minors always have this right to ratify this contract, like if they want to stay in this contract or not, till they attain the like after they attain or the age of 18. After attaining, they can tell that if they want to stay in that contract or not. So by this we come to the end of this video. We have covered the competency of the parties in great detail. I've tried to cover every topic which I could. I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and also comment. In case you have any query, keep watching, keep learning. Thank you so much.